Welcome back, everyone. Before we dive in, make sure you drop your thoughts and the lessons you took from this story in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's get into it. The crystal wine glass trembled in my hand as I watched my husband of 12 years lean back in his chair, that familiar smirk playing across his lips. The dining room was bathed in the warm glow of Christmas lights, the turkey growing cold as Langston's family watched with barely concealed anticipation. His mother, Vivian, drummed her manicured fingers against the mahogany table. His brother, Damien, shifted, unable to meet my eyes. Even his teenage nephew, Jalen, had put down his phone. "Adrian, darling," Langston said, reaching into his jacket. "I have a special Christmas gift for you." The manila envelope he placed before me looked innocuous, but the gleam in his eyes was not. Across the table, his best friend, Quentin, who had joined our family dinner, leaned forward with undisguised excitement. "Go ahead, sweetheart," Langston urged. "Open it." My fingers moved mechanically, breaking the seal and pulling out crisp legal documents. Divorce papers. On Christmas Day. In front of his entire family. I heard Quentin whisper to Damien, "She'll fall apart," then beg him to stay. Langston chuckled, savoring my supposed humiliation. "What do you say, Adrian? Ready to sign?" I reached for the pen with steady hands, signed my name with a flourish, and smiled. Really smiled for the first time in months. "Done," I said, pushing the papers back. Confusion flickered over their faces. But I was not finished. "Actually, Langston," I said, rising gracefully, "I have a Christmas gift for you, too." The beautifully wrapped box I retrieved from under the tree was heavy, tied with a velvet bow. I set it before him. "Open it." When he lifted the lid and saw what was inside, the color drained from his face. Vivian gasped, her hand flying to her throat. Quentin stumbled and knocked over his chair. Even Jalen went pale. But that was only the beginning of what I was about to unleash. 6 months earlier, I was still living the lie. My name is Adrian Montgomery, and for 12 years I had been the epitome of the perfect corporate wife. At 34, I maintained a meticulous routine and an unfailing smile. We lived in a pristine suburban home outside Chicago, with manicured lawns and marble countertops. I hosted dinners for Langston's colleagues, organized charity galas, and ensured our life reflected his position as a senior partner at Blackwood and Associates, one of the city's most prestigious law firms. Every morning at 5:30, I prepared Langston's breakfast exactly as he liked it, laid out his suits, pressed his shirts, and sent him off with encouragement. My days were a choreography of yoga classes, volunteer work at the Children's Hospital, and careful networking that supported his ambitions. From the outside, we looked flawless. He commanded rooms. I completed the image. We were photographed at events and whispered about at country club dinners. But perfection, I learned, can be a prison. The cracks appeared 2 years earlier. Langston worked later, traveled more, and withdrew from the intimacy we once knew. "You are being paranoid," he would say, not looking up from his phone. "I am building our future." I wanted to believe him. God, how I wanted to. The night everything changed was a rainy Thursday in September. A migraine had chased me all day. I decided to surprise him by picking him up from the office. The security guard knew me and waved me through. The 32nd floor was dim, but Langston's corner office glowed. Through glass walls, I saw him. He was not alone. She was bent over his desk, over him. A stunning associate I recognized as Brianna Cole. 26, brilliant, rising fast. They were so absorbed they did not notice me in the hallway. I watched my husband move against her with an urgency I had not seen in months. I should have stormed in. Instead, something cold and calculating settled into place. I backed away, took the elevator down, and drove home in a daze. That night, when he came home smelling unfamiliar, I said nothing. When he apologized for working so late, I smiled and asked if he was hungry. "You are an angel, Adrian," he said. "I do not know what I would do without you." I was about to find out. Over the next weeks, I changed. The trusting woman vanished. In her place, a strategist emerged. I noticed how his phone lay face down during dinner, how he stepped outside for certain calls, how his cologne had changed. Each sign was a puzzle piece. My first breakthrough arrived at Café Luna, a trendy bistro near his office. I had gone there for years. I told myself I was not spying. I was treating myself to salmon salad. Then I saw them. Langston and Brianna at a corner table, foreheads nearly touching, hands woven together. This was not a fling. It was intimacy. From a small window table, I took discreet photos. Evidence. The word became my mantra. I watched him slide an envelope to her. She opened it, delight spilling across her face. Jewelry, expensive jewelry. My allowance funding her sparkle. They left separately. He dropped cash enough for a lavish tip. Always the gentleman when impressing someone new. That afternoon, I hired a private investigator. Caleb Wright had the weathered face of a man who knew the world's shadows. His references were impeccable, his discretion absolute. I need to know everything, I told him. Where he goes, who he sees, how long this has continued, and the evidence we can gather. How long have you suspected? He asked. 6 weeks, I said. But I think it started earlier. Caleb nodded. It usually has. His tone was gentle but unflinching. Decide what you want, Ms. Montgomery. Evidence for divorce is one path. Evidence for complete destruction is another. At that moment, I believed I wanted the former. I was wrong. Within 2 weeks, Caleb delivered a meticulous dossier. The affair had lasted 8 months. Regular rendezvous at the Grandview Hotel on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Jewelry, a weekend in Napa Valley, a quiet push that helped secure her promotion. Then page 12, the theft. Langston had been siphoning funds from client trust accounts to finance the affair. Small amounts at first, wrapped in complex accounting maneuvers. Over 8 months, nearly $200,000. He is good, Caleb said. If he had stopped at $50,000, he might never have been caught. But desire makes people sloppy. What happens if this is exposed? I asked. Disbarment. Criminal charges. Prison. He met my eyes. This is not just adultery. It is felony embezzlement. In my car, staring at the proof, something fundamental shifted. Hurt gave way to a cold, enduring fury. He had built his new life on lies and theft, funding passion with stolen money while I played the perfect wife. Caleb was wrong about one thing. I did not want a clean exit. I wanted total ruin. That night, I stood under the harsh lights of our bathroom and studied my reflection. The woman looking back was the same to the casual eye, but behind the familiar face stood someone new, someone dangerous. I made lists, vulnerabilities, pride, reputation, relationships, weaknesses. I cataloged them like a surgeon preparing for a delicate operation. Langston's greatest fear was not losing me. It was losing face. He was the respected partner, the admired man. Strip that away, and there would be nothing left but an empty shell. When his mother called about Christmas dinner, her voice smooth and condescending, the plan crystallized. Will you prepare your usual feast? Vivian asked. Of course, I said. I would not dream of disappointing the family. She mentioned Quentin might join. Perfect. The accomplice would witness the ending. With 2 months until Christmas, I moved quietly. I opened a private bank account at another institution and transferred small amounts to secure my independence. I retained Octavia Price, the city's most formidable divorce attorney. Her glass and steel office gleamed with degrees and awards. I handed her Caleb's report. She scanned it, expression neutral. We can secure you a favorable settlement, she said. I do not want a settlement, I replied. I want him destroyed. Octavia steepled her fingers. Destroyed is a strong word. Once we go down this path, there is no return. Your husband will lose everything, career, reputation, freedom. Are you prepared for collateral damage? I thought of the lies and the sleepless nights. I am prepared, I said. Then let us discuss strategy. October and November became a masquerade. Publicly, I was the flawless spouse. I attended firm events with him, smiled for photographs, and planned Christmas with clinical precision. He mistook my calm for acceptance and became almost tender, believing my efforts had rekindled us. Every compliment tasted like ash. Watching him and Brianna at firm events was the hardest part. She was radiant, her promotion glowing on her like a medal. They kept their distance, but I saw the choreography of desire. A brush of fingers, a glance too long, the quickening of a smile when he entered the room. At the Thanksgiving mixer, I ducked into an alcove and heard his voice. She suspects nothing, Quentin said. Nothing, Langston replied, confident. Adrian has been the perfect wife. I think she is finally accepting this as who I am. Focused. Driven. And Brianna? Quentin asked. Impatient, Langston said. She wants me to file. I am not ready. Adrian is useful. I will end it on my timeline. Christmas dinner might be perfect to serve papers. Public humiliation works. Quentin laughed softly. Brutal, but effective. I slipped away, heart pounding not with pain but with satisfaction. They had given me the final piece. December I spent orchestrating. I transformed the house into a winter wonderland. I ordered the finest turkey, imported Langston's favorite wines, commissioned custom place cards. Meanwhile, Octavia filed papers. Investigators waited. The State Bar received a discreet notification. The Federal Bureau of Investigation's white-collar division received an anonymous tip. The dominoes were aligned. My masterpiece required craft. I spent hours at Kinko's printing and binding documents, bank statements, photographs of hotel meetings, cafe lunches, receipts for jewelry and trips, phone records. Every piece Caleb had gathered, arranged chronologically. The cover page was a photograph I had taken at the Thanksgiving mixer, Langston and Brianna gazing at each other with unmistakable longing. Across the bottom, I printed Merry Christmas. I had it bound in elegant black leather with gold embossing. Christmas morning dawned clear and cold. I woke early and began preparing our feast. Langston was unusually affectionate, bringing me coffee and praising the decorations. "You have outdone yourself," he said, surveying the table set with crystal and china, winter roses perfuming the air. "Only the best for your family," I replied. "Our family," he corrected. The irony was bitter. They arrived at noon, Vivian in a cloud of perfume and critique, Damien with his wife and Jalen, and last Quentin, trading a look with Langston that told me everything. In the living room, their voices were bright with forced cheer. At 2:00, I announced dinner. The dining room fell quiet as they admired the spread. Conversation flowed more easily than usual, perhaps buoyed by wine. I kept glasses full and laughter rising, watching Langston's hand drift to his jacket pocket. Quentin gave him tiny nods. Halfway through the main course, I excused myself to check on dessert and touched the black leather box hidden behind the mixing bowls. Almost time. When I returned, the atmosphere had shifted. Langston sat straighter, jaw tight. Vivian's eyes sharpened. "Adrian," he said, slipping into his courtroom cadence. "Before dessert, I have something for you." "How thoughtful," I murmured. The envelope slid toward me. "Open it," he said. The room was silent, but for the fire's crackle and Jalen's muted gasp when he understood. I read the first page slowly, as if reviewing a contract for a charity benefit. The silence stretched until it quivered. "You want me to sign?" I asked. "It is for the best," he said, voice soft, almost gentle. "We have grown apart. We want different things. This way, we can both move on with dignity." I signed each page, my handwriting steady and bold. "There," I said, pushing them back. "Done." Shock rippled around the table. I rose with composure. "Since we are exchanging gifts, I have one for you too, darling." I brought the black leather box and set it in front of him. "Merry Christmas. I hope you like it." His hands shook as he untied the ribbon and lifted the lid. He stared at the bound collection, his complexion draining. Vivian leaned in, then recoiled. Quentin lurched to his feet, chair crashing back. Damien let out a sharp, disbelieving laugh. "What is it?" Vivian demanded, reaching with trembling fingers. She opened the book, and her face moved through confusion to comprehension to horror. 8 months, I said pleasantly, as if commenting on weather. "That is how long your son has been conducting an affair with his colleague, Brianna Cole. 8 months of lies and stolen money." "Stolen money?" Damien asked, still half laughing in disbelief. "Nearly $200,000, I said, my tone even. "Funds embezzled from client trust accounts at Blackwood and Associates. All documented. Bank records, transaction histories, accounting irregularities. The photographs are particularly clear. Page 15 shows the Grandview Hotel. Page 23, Cafe Luna, where he gives her jewelry purchased with stolen funds. Page 31, the Thanksgiving mixer." Vivian flipped pages with shaking hands, her careful makeup beginning to smear as tears gathered. "You have destroyed him," she whispered. "No," I said. "He destroyed himself. I documented it." Quentin found his voice. "You cannot prove any of this. It is circumstantial." "It is admissible," I said, cutting in. "Bank records, receipts, call logs, photographs, and corroborating statements. Obtained legally. Properly authenticated." The room spun into chaos. Vivian sobbed into her napkin. Quentin edged toward the door, gray-faced. Jalen stared at his uncle, finally grasping what embezzlement meant. Damien's laughter died as he studied his brother with something like pity. Langston sat frozen, terror dawning. "Of course," I continued. "This is only your copy. The Federal Bureau of Investigation received theirs this morning. The State Bar Association received theirs yesterday. Brianna's arrives tomorrow with her termination papers. The Federal Bureau of Investigation. Langston croaked. White-collar crimes division, I said. They are very interested in your methods. Embezzling client funds is a federal offense. Silence pressed on all of us. Finally, Langston straightened, seeking his footing. This is vindictive, he said. A spurned wife's revenge fantasy. No, prosecutor. I already spoke with Assistant United States Attorney Lauren Brooks, I said. She is very interested. Law firm embezzlement is an epidemic, and they want an example. The name hit him like a blow. Quentin snarled, composure cracking. Do you understand what you have done? You destroyed multiple lives over a simple affair. I turned to him. Do you mean the affair you facilitated? Page 47 documents your alibis and cover. Accessory liability is not simple. Quentin went white. Damien rose and steadied his mother. Mom, we should go, he said. Yes, I agreed, still calm. Dessert is canceled. I have calls to make. They filed out in stunned silence. Langston remained, staring at the ruins of his dinner. Why? He asked at last. Why destroy everything we built? We did not build anything together, Langston, I said. I built a life while you built a fantasy with stolen money. I am only ending the lie. The week between Christmas and New Year's became a blur of legal motion and public unraveling. The Federal Bureau of Investigation executed a search warrant on our home the day after Christmas. Agents carried out boxes of records and hard drives. Neighbors gathered, whispering, pointing. I found I did not care. News outlets ran footage of Langston in handcuffs. Blackwood and Associates issued a statement of cooperation, froze his accounts, and opened an internal audit. Brianna was fired and arrested. Quentin hired counsel and sought a plea deal, offering testimony against Langston. Their friendship collapsed in days. From Octavia's office, we shaped my divorce strategy. He is desperate, she told me. His attorney wants a quick settlement to minimize your testimony's impact. What are they offering? I asked. Everything, she said, satisfied. The house, the cars, the unfrozen investments, in exchange for your silence. I considered. And if I refuse? Then you testify about the gifts, the trips, the lifestyle he funded with stolen money. Your testimony could add years. I held all the cards for the first time in 12 years. I want the house, I said, and a public admission of the affair in our divorce record. Octavia smiled. Done. 3 months later, I sat in federal court. The man at the defense table barely resembled the confident attorney who had served me papers on Christmas. Langston had lost weight. His suit hung loose. His eyes were haunted. Brianna sat at the prosecutor's table, having accepted a plea deal. The evidence I had gathered formed the backbone of the case. Photographs spread across large screens. Hotel receipts and bank records traced stolen money with mathematical precision. When I took the stand, I felt calm. The courtroom was crowded with reporters and former colleagues. Vivian sat in the gallery, her face carved from grief and fury. Ms. Montgomery, Assistant United States Attorney Brooks said, Tell the court about your marriage. We were married 12 years, I said. I believed I was married to an honest attorney. I discovered I was married to a thief and a liar. Langston's attorney tried to paint me as vindictive. Did you orchestrate this out of spite? No, I said, meeting Langston's eyes. I acted because my husband was a criminal. The affair was merely the symptom. The jury deliberated less than 4 hours. Guilty on all counts. The judge sentenced Langston to 7 years in federal prison and revoked his law license. His remaining assets were seized for restitution. Brianna received 18 months of community service. Quentin lost his law license, but avoided prison in exchange for cooperation. As the bailiff led Langston away, he looked back at me with devastated clarity. I felt nothing but the cool satisfaction of truth acknowledged. 6 months after the trial, I stood in my kitchen, my house now, preparing breakfast for one. Morning light poured through windows I had finally had professionally cleaned. I had redecorated, erasing our old life and creating something entirely mine. My phone rang. Ms. Montgomery, Caleb said. A potential client asked for the investigator from the Langston Pierce case. She suspects infidelity and financial impropriety. Would you be willing to speak with her? I smiled. Give her my number, I said. I will be happy to talk. In the months since the conviction, I had spoken with many women who were deciding whether to face the truth. Some wanted advice. Others needed to hear that survival was possible. Caleb said, What you did was remarkable. Many choose to look away. After we hung up, I walked through my quiet rooms, thinking about how long I had chosen to accept less than I deserved. That woman was gone. In her place stood someone who understood that the most devastating revenge is simply revealing the truth and letting consequences fall. A year after sentencing, I received an unexpected visitor. I was tending the garden that had become my sanctuary when Vivian appeared at the gate. She looked older, diminished, the scandal having carved new lines into her face. "Adrian," she said softly. "May I come in?" I led her to the patio. "You look well," she observed. "I am," I said. We sat in a quiet that for once did not feel hostile. "I came to apologize," Vivian said. The word startled me. "For what specifically?" "For not seeing what my son had become. For not treating you with respect. For raising a man who could betray you so thoroughly." I searched her face and for the first time saw genuine remorse. "He writes to me from prison," she continued. "He asks about you. He wants to know if you are happy, if you have moved on. He sent a letter." She held out an envelope with my name in Langston's careful hand. "What does it say?" I asked. I did not read it. But he is not the same man. Prison has humbled him. He understands what he lost. "It is too late for understanding," I said evenly. "I know," she whispered. "But perhaps not too late for forgiveness." I took the letter and later fed it to the fire, watching the paper curl and darken. Whatever it contained, I did not need it to close the door. 2 years later, I stood in my kitchen, preparing dinner for friends I had met through a domestic violence support organization. Women who, like me, had learned that sometimes the people we trust most are capable of the deepest betrayals. My phone buzzed. A message from Octavia. "Langston Pierce denied parole. Will serve full sentence. Thought you would want to know." I smiled and deleted it. Justice was still working. The woman who signed those divorce papers on Christmas Day would have felt a blaze of triumph. The woman I had become felt something calmer. Indifference. I set the table for 6, chairs waiting for people who valued honesty and had earned their place in my life through character rather than obligation. As the doorbell rang, I caught my reflection in the hallway mirror. The woman in the glass bore little resemblance to the flawless corporate wife who once lived here. This woman's smile was real. Her eyes were clear. Her spine was straight with hard-won confidence. She was free. And sometimes, in a world that does not always serve justice, freedom is the sweetest revenge. If you enjoyed this story, please like, comment, and share this video with your friends. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a powerful story drop.